Ready now.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry to be starting about 4 minutes late. I appreciate everyone being out tonight. So if you don't know, my name is Rahum Williams. I'm your council person if you live in the 3rd Ward. I sit on the council. I've been on the council since July of last year. Oh, sorry. Is that better? Yes. Okay. Thank you. I've been on the council since July of last year. This, I believe, is probably my 4th time. Welcome if you've been here before, welcome back. And just before, so we're going to have 3 presentations tonight. We're going to have a presentation from our communications director, a presentation from our sustainability director, and from our town engineer, DCS as well. And I know there's some folks here from Graham Terrace, Sutherland. Okay, great. Just before we get started here, before I do a lot of these meetings, I like to find out how all of you heard about this meeting. So I'm just going to ask a series of questions, and if you could just raise your hand if it applies to you. So how many of you are here because you saw this meeting announced on social media? Okay. And was it from the town's social media or mine? Towns. See, I don't have any followers on social media. I gotta do something about that. Okay. How many of you were here? You saw the alert. You got an email alert about it. Okay. And I'm assuming that all of you also are getting the town newsletter. Yes. Okay. So it's important. So one of the things that we're going to do, and Matt may touch on here, is what we would like to do is we'd like to get reach as many people as we possibly can with the newsletter and alerts and things like that. So just want to kind of see which things people are plugged into, and it seems like the alerts on the town website with the emails are working well, but all right, so that's good. Yes. That's something new because I didn't ask them to do it, but if they did it, that's fantastic. Who did? I've never heard of Jersey Bee, so I appreciate them. But in any event, so we're going to get kicked off here. So we're going to have the 3 presentations. I want to leave enough time at the end so folks can ask as many questions. I know that some of you have indicated to me that you have some questions about things that may not have been on that agenda that you received. So I'm going to leave some time at the end. So with that said, Matt Amaral. It's okay, you could clap.
Thank you. Okay, so my presentations are going to be pretty brief. I just wanted to introduce myself first of all. My name is Matt. I'm the communications director. I've been working for the town exactly a year now, since last October. It's flown by, and it also feels like I've been working there forever. So, I also live here in the 3rd Ward. I'm literally right around the corner on Union Street. So I like these ward meetings, very easy commute for me to go back and forth. Before working for Montclair, I worked mostly in nonprofit and NGO communications, and then now I'm here at the township. So what I wanted to do is just a brief overview of the communications channels that the township has, what they focus on. They kind of have different purposes, and then also how residents can communicate with us. So I'm going to walk through the website, the email, just touch upon social media, and then also show some other communications that our individual departments put out. So obviously the website is probably the most obvious form of communication. The website, I like to consider it as sort of the business end of government. We don't really intend it to be like a community calendar for events that aren't related to the township. It's really focused on official meetings, things like ward meetings, all the planning board, board of adjustment, council meetings, agendas. So what you'll find on there is mostly information about those kind of events, and then obviously services and documents and permits and all that stuff that people need. I'm very aware that MontclairNJUSA.org is probably not part of your usual entertainment routine. You know, people are going on that website usually for a very specific purpose. So making that easy is the #1 priority. And I'm going to go back and forth between this PowerPoint and the website. So a couple things that I wanted to point out. We do have our news section here, which lists sort of the 3 most recent announcements that we put out. And then our events here, which again covers meetings and board meetings. So you see, you know, Councilor Williams' meeting is on here, Board of Adjustments. So that's like the go-to for all the official township stuff. And then there's also a directory, oops, not the Environmental Commission. And our directory here, if you do know who you need to get in touch with, you can look them up here.
So that events is constantly updated?
Yes.
In other words, if you're interested in something, you have to keep checking that or not.
Well, I mean, it depends. Like for this event, for example, we'll do more proactive communication about that. We post on social media, we send it out on email, put flyers up at 2:05. Making an event, I mean, it's on the calendar, but as I said, I'm not anticipating people are going to come here all the time as part of. So, you know, we're not communicating, we're not sending an email about every zoning board of adjustment meeting, because that's, the people going to those know that stuff. So, but it's all on here on the calendar. Okay. And the second thing I want to talk about is email communications, which we're trying to do a lot more of. Over email, we send out the township newsletter, which goes out every month. We communicate about these ward meetings, public hearings, other official meetings that the township is putting on, and then more on the alert and urgent side, road closures, weather advisories, any urgent issues like that. As part of the system, we do have text capability as well, but we really try and reserve that for safety issues, emergencies, stuff like that. And the bottom here, I just have some examples of what we consider important information for the whole community. So we sent an email about all the property tax relief programs, voter registration, hydrant flushing, so that when your water is brown, you know why. And then surveys, like we had the shuttle bus survey that we emailed out to the town. And I want to make sure that everybody knows how to sign up for those alerts. It is on the homepage right here, sign up for alerts and important information. I also brought a flyer that has a QR code. So I will leave these in the back table for anybody that can scan the QR code, and then you can sign up on your device as well. And I always like to say, if you don't want to do all that, just email me. The easiest email address for me is info@montclairnjusa.org. It's a generic email inbox, but it does go straight to me. So that's an easy one to remember. If you have trouble signing up for the emails, you're not getting them, you're not seeing stuff, you can always just email me and I'll figure it out with you. Let's go back to this presentation. And then, of course, we have social media. Our main channels are Facebook and Instagram. And social media, you'll see more sort of casual, fun stuff, things going on in the community that's not just, you know, I'm not posting statutory open public records acts on Instagram. It's not the right platform for that. But if you want to get a sense of just what's going on, Facebook and Instagram. And it will also put really any urgent safety alerts we'll put on social media as well. We have our YouTube, which is run by our video guy back there, Rick. He is, in my opinion, the most valuable employee at the township. If he wasn't here, I don't know who's broadcasting the meeting. So. And my little disclaimer about social media, we don't consider that an official two-way channel. So if people leave comments, we're not monitoring those. I always encourage people to use the website to find a phone number, email, and there's better ways to get in touch. The police department has their own social media. They run a great, they have just a lot of great content and run 2 great accounts. Montclair Recreation has their own Facebook. And I will never, ever beat puppies and kittens. The animal shelter has 10,000 more followers than our township social media accounts. So they very much have their own presence, and they put a lot of great stuff out there too. And of course, the library has their own social media as well. So I want to quickly touch on the opposite way, how residents can communicate with us, starting by how to report issues and concerns. So that arrow's pointing to on the website where it is, but we can also do it live. So this is basically, it's a system called Q Alert. It's like a 311 system. And here's where you would go if you needed to report an issue, pothole, street light out, any kind of issue that the township would take care of. And you just request for service, and you can do it by picking exactly where you are. You also don't have to. And then every issue is categorized here, and the way it works on the back end is if it's an issue for Department of Community Services, it'll go straight to Austin back there. If it's for the building department, it'll go straight there. And then you'll get updates on how the issue is being resolved. Now, the only caveat with this is we may be moving to a new system to do these kind of service requests that is, I think, will be much cleaner and better and more efficient. But the way to sign up will always, or sorry, the way to report an issue will always still be here. And that's what I got. So the email address again, info@montclairnjusa.org. Feel free to reach out. I'm going to leave some of the flyers back there with the QR code to sign up. I'll leave a little stack of my business cards too if anyone wants to get in touch. Questions, complaints, concerns? Wow, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Yes. I embed that irony in there for people like you to see. No, thanks for pointing that out. Any other questions? No? Okay. So the survey I referenced before is the mayor and council's thinking about reinstating a shuttle bus service, jitney service. There used to be one a couple years ago, I think. So the survey is already closed. It's the mobility committee that's looking at it and analyzing the data, and then they're going to have next steps from there. Yes. Great suggestion. Great suggestion. She was asking if we've considered shutting off the comments on social media, which is probably a pretty good idea. We also have a communications committee where we kind of discuss things like this, of which Councilor Williams is on. So we do always discuss, those kind of things, how to run things better. So yeah, that's a good suggestion. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you, Matt. So once again, you saw all the different ways that you can interact with the town beyond just sending an email and telephone call. One thing that I would encourage everyone to do is with the alerts that come out and the newsletters and stuff like that, if you're just casually speaking to people and you want to bore them to tears, tell them to sign up for this. But it's important because we're trying our best to kind of get this information out to people, and word of mouth. All of you probably know quite a few folks in town, so if you can kind of spread the word, and I'm going to go around periodically door to door like I did to some of the people on Graham Terrace and Sutherland Place, and knock on doors and spread the word as well. But if all of you can help us with that endeavor, it'd be greatly appreciated. So next up, we're going to speak to Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. I was excited to have my clicker here. It's my favorite. So thanks, everybody. My name is Lisa Johnson. I run the Office of Sustainability at the Township. And I've been here for just over 3 years. So it's me and Marrakesh Cunliffe, who also works in the office. And we do a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to environmental stewardship. So we write a lot of grants, we have a lot of programs, and I'm just going to discuss some of those programs with you tonight. Can you closer? Okay. This is good? Okay. I never know how close to put it. So if you live in the 3rd Ward, are you familiar with the native garden that we planted in front of the Crescent Deck? Yes. So we used a grant from Sustainable Jersey, and it's all native plants. So we're very excited about this because it's still in its infancy. It's going to continue to blossom and grow. And if you walk by it, you see the butterflies and the bees and all the life around there. And we're looking to expand it as well in the spring to do more of the lawn. We also do consultations. So we do native lawn consultations as part of the program through this grant, through Sustainable Jersey. And we have landscape designers go to people's residences or their properties to give them feedback on what they can plant, where they can plant it, the plants, the trees. It's pretty holistic. Right now, we're pausing it because we are waitlisting, but we're going to open it again in probably about 2 weeks. So if you want to get on the wait list, if you haven't already had a consult, anybody here have a consult already? What'd you think of it?
Fabulous. She spent about an hour in this meeting and walked around and talked about everything. And she wrote us a really nice report, very detailed, what's purchased, what's replaced, photos, like before and after. It was really good.
That's great. And we're the only municipality that has this program, so I'm very, very proud of it. Yeah. Native plants, all native. Did you start planting? Yeah, oh, great. Okay, so you're going to like this other thing I'm going to talk about. Whoops. Okay, so at the garden, when it was blooming, right, this is during the summer, it was filling out. It looks really beautiful. Again, it's going to only improve every year. Another part of that program is we're going to start certifying people's lawns if they have a native landscape. And we're still working on the criteria, but if you email us, we'll send you a sheet to fill out, and you can get one of these to put in your lawn. So again, this is part of that grant through Sustainable Jersey that we're able to do. And we're very, very proud of this. So some of the criteria, again, minimum 50 contiguous square foot native planting area. It's about the size of a patio. At least 80% of plants have to be New Jersey native. No pesticides can be used. It's got to be organic. And then no plants that are aggressive or toxic like poison ivy, right? You can't say I've got natives in my backyard and it's all poison ivy and Virginia creeper. So that doesn't count. So I'm going to give everybody a cheat sheet of this presentation afterwards, and all of this information's in there. We're also still doing the community forestry program, so we still have 3.5 years of this, and it's to increase the urban tree canopy throughout the township, at least in about half of the township that is considered overburdened by the NJDEP. And again, if you want a tree in front of your house, right, you can scan that QR code. It's going to be in the cheat sheet that I'm going to pass out. And we already started helping our sidewalks in the 3rd Ward. So we are expanding. I'm trying to see if this is, I thought it had one of those lasers. So we're expanding the tree pits in the 3rd Ward so that we can plant bigger, better trees. So again, we're going to be doing this along Bloomfield Avenue, Glenridge Avenue. This is one initiative to actually help these trees survive and to reduce the heat island effect. And over the summer, we had green teams from Montclair State University, this is part of the grant, do a tree inventory and analysis, and they started with the 4th Ward, but I just want to show you what to expect in the 3rd Ward. They looked at the tree composition, they measured the trees, they measured the heat island, right? So in the 3rd Ward, our biggest heat island is around Lackawanna Plaza and Bloomfield Avenue. So that's why we're focusing on expanding those tree pits so that we could put more trees in to address the urban heat island effect. So again, this is the visual of the heat islands throughout the third ward, and these are the places that we're concentrating on to plant more trees. And we all know how wonderful trees are. They mitigate heat, removes pollution, sequesters carbon, and it helps with stormwater, right? Helps capture that stormwater so we don't have such extensive flooding. So many benefits. So again, if you want a tree, let us know. We're happy to see if we can put a tree in front of your house. And like I mentioned before, the trees also mitigate heat, but it also helps to avoid runoff, right? It captures that runoff, which we know is really important. Because this isn't the third ward, but here's a picture of flooding that we all experience, unfortunately. So again, trees aren't going to fix this, but they are going to help, so keep that in mind. Another initiative that we're going to be rolling out later on is Adopt a Drain. So Adopt a Drain, again, isn't something that we're not taking services away. This is a community effort, and a lot of municipalities actually do this. So we're going to start pushing Adopt a Drain and having people feel, pride in their area and take care of some of these things. If you notice, a lot of the trees have lost their leaves early on in the season because we've been in a drought, right? Where New Jersey has been in a drought, which is making the trees, again, drop their leaves. There's more debris on the ground. The town still cleans the streets, but in those in-between times, we can really help out to make sure that our catch basins aren't full, our drains are clear, so we don't have flooding. And again, sometimes debris, it's not just leaves, it's also plastics. They start to accumulate in front of our drains, in front of our catch basins. And this is just something we can all band together on to help the township. So again, if you'd like to participate, we're going to be rolling this out soon. It'll be on the cheat sheet as well. We're also going to be doing community cleanups moving forward. So starting in the spring, we're going to look at areas that are in desperate need of cleanup, specifically business districts and some other areas. We're going to organize sessions. We're going to provide the material, the garbage bags and the picker-uppers and the gloves. And these cleanups are going to last about 90 minutes, open to all participants. And if you're part of an organization and you want to sponsor a cleanup, that means you have to have at least 5 volunteers staying for the entire session. We can compensate $200 for that. So it's a great way, again, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, other organizations can get involved, help to clean up our areas, and feel like you're part of the community, and also have some compensation so that you can have some coffee afterwards and, hang out in our downtowns. Again, just some more information about the cleanups. If you need volunteer hours, we can also give you volunteer hours for that as well. And this isn't in the third ward, it's in the fourth ward, but I just wanted to talk about some of the initiatives that my office works on. So we applied for a grant through the DEP to put a resiliency park at 399 Orange Road, which is an old gas station, right? So right now it's being remediated, all those pollutants are being removed, and then we're going to do a detention basin to deal with the stormwater, as well as bioswales, rain gardens, passive park setting. And I'm just bringing this up because this is something that we're also looking to do in the third ward, right? So, if there's ever any projects or ideas or issues, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always looking for ways to improve our landscape. And again, this is just one example of a grant that we just received last week, which is helping the whole town, right? When we help one part of the town, we help everybody. Another grant that I just applied for is this regional assistant program where I partnered with 8 municipalities, including Essex County, to do a full resiliency plan for all of us, the 8 municipalities down there, I'm not going to say all of them, in Essex County, and also to look into doing a watershed improvement plan, which is a requirement by the DEP MS4 permits. So again, just some of these initiatives that my office is constantly working on to try to relieve some of the costs that the township has to spend no matter what. And again, these municipalities were the ones that West Orange, East Orange, Orange, Bloomfield, Montclair, Bellevue, Nutley, and Bloomfield. If you look at this map, this is potential for flooding, and we all share the same watershed, right? The lower Passaic River watershed, the second and third river. And if we fix one area, we can potentially hurt another area, another municipality. So it's important that we all work together. It's a holistic effort. And this is another grant that I'm working on. Again, not for the third ward, but that doesn't mean we're not going to find projects for the third ward. Always talk to me if you have a great idea. We're looking to reforest Bonsall Preserve. Who here goes to Bonsall? I mean, it's right there. It's beautiful. So we're going to reforest it, hopefully if we get this grant, and remove invasives. Bonsall Preserve? Yeah. So they're having an issue with invasive plants. So we're hopefully going to be able to remove those plants and put in more trees. So this is something that is potential. It's in Upper Montclair. It's by Montclair State University. It's literally like 5 minutes from the university on the Clifton border. But it's a nature preserve. It's really beautiful. It's untouched. We are still moving forward with the composting project. We're having industrial composters, the Rocket, put at 2 schools. And in the third ward, we're having it at Montclair Community Farms. So once this program starts, it should be in about another month or 2, you can bring your food waste to Montclair Community Farms for it to be composted. So we're really excited about that. And we are able to do this through a grant through the USDA. Yes, meat, dairy, bones, right? It takes almost everything. Yes. Only thing they say, not anything too liquidy, like soup, but everything else is good. We're talking about it, including businesses as well. There's going to be like a small fee, though, just because we have to compensate the farm for their time. But yeah, we're looking 1,000%. Yes, absolutely. Distribute it. You can have it. You can put it in your garden. Okay, I apologize for that. You can ask the DCS later when they're here, but, I'm not sure what happened with that. Yeah, I can't answer. Yeah.
The town is facilitating the replacement of natural gas lines. The main component of natural gas is methane. It's a funny more potent than carbon dioxide in terms of heating the atmosphere. What is the county doing to minimize the use of natural gas in this town? In my own home, I put in solar panels.
So it's great that you brought that up. I don't have a slide on this, but I had received a grant through the BPU to do a solar feasibility study on the roofs of our municipal buildings, and we located a roof that would be perfect for it. So the next phase of this BPU grant is to apply for an implementation grant, which would cover a portion of the roof being, putting solar on the roof. So little by little, we're trying to make these changes, but we just don't have the funds to just change everything right away. Because there's expenses to it. This grant is $250,000 that I'm going to apply for to try to do these solar panels. But again, that's just a small portion.
Zoning for these activities like technology that new homes could be required to build like new solar.
Yeah, that's
So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to have question and answer period printed. So I want to give everybody an opportunity to
Okay, thank you. We also got a grant through the ARP to do a senior garden. It's actually right next door at the Mills building, and we are continuing to have that garden. So if you want to get in on winter planting or spring planting, please let me know as well. We're very excited about this. We had beautiful vegetables this past harvest. And then we're still doing the home energy efficiency program. Again, if you haven't gotten a energy assessment, it's free through PSE&G. I definitely recommend it. I've said this at length. I did it. I went through the program. I had my whole attic insulated for free, right? So there's no cost, low cost rebates you can get depending on what you qualify for. But it's definitely something to check out, and it'll help you to lower your energy costs. So I highly recommend it. And again, your sustainability goals matter to me, so please, reach out to me if you have questions, comments, if there's programs, ideas that you have. I would love to hear from you. And that's my information. So please stay in touch, but I'm going to pass out a cheat sheet for whoever wants a recap of all this information. So that's my time. Thank you.
So quick question, has anybody noticed all the stop signs that have been going up on town? How do you feel about them? We like them? All right, good. Well, these folks, well, that's so it's funny you say that, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this. While I was going to the train station the other day, one of the new stop signs that we put up on Gates and Hawthorne, somebody was going the opposite way, I forget which direction, and they blew right through the stop sign going 40 miles an hour. And, anyway, so yes, I totally agree with you on that. But anyway, these two gentlemen right here are responsible for a lot of stop signs that you see in town, and there's more on the way here, but I don't want to steal their thunder. So with that said, introduce yourself.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Norberto Hernandez. I'm the township engineer. My name is Norberto Hernandez. Better? Good. I'm the township engineer and have been so for about the last 7 years or so. And with me here is Austin Ashley. He's the director of community services for the township of Montclair. So.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to get a couple things in. We're going to be talking tonight about the improvements that are going on in the third ward. But before we do that, I just wanted to give a little plug for some of the services, the other services that the Department of Community Services does. We mentioned the trees. I'd like to speak with you after about that issue. The other thing that Dr. Johnson had indicated was the cleanup for the storm drains. That is a vital piece of our infrastructure, and we could greatly appreciate lending a hand if you can. We are very excited, and this will be the first venue where we talk about this, is we are expecting delivery of our Vector truck, which is the piece of equipment that cleans out those catch basins. It is a very large machine that's similar to a vacuum. You take the sewer grates, the storm drain grates out, and that cleans out the interior of those catch basins. Now, we had a Vector truck in the past. It was over 30 years old. I believe it was last year. It was out on cleaning one of those catch basins, and the container itself, where the debris goes, had rusted out. So that was out of commission for the last year, and that has been very difficult. Now, luckily, we have good neighbors. We were able to coordinate with surrounding DPWs to get to emergent situations, catch basins that were in very bad condition, but that's not the way we like to operate. We like to have a set schedule. We're out there proactively going through those catch basins and making sure that they're getting cleaned on a schedule. So that truck will be out as soon as it rolls in the door. We'll be putting it out there and getting those catch basins cleaned out. Along with that, with the leaves, we ask that when you put your leaves out in the leaf bags, to minimize the number of sticks and other debris that go into those bags. It is only supposed to be, we say yard waste. It really should just be leaves. The yard waste, we can take a certain percentage, but after that it becomes burdensome on our recycling provider. In addition to what we're talking about curbside, well, actually, I'm going to go back to leaves. Another thing you could do, and I bet you Dr. Johnson will back me up on this one, is mulching the leaves in your yard. That is it's good for your yard. It's a natural fertilizer for the yard. It minimizes the amount of cost for the township for recycling, and it helps with reducing the amount of blockage for the drainage. And one more thing about before we get to the improvements. The bulky waste. Bulky waste has become a bit of an issue. There's been a bit of an over usage for bulky waste. I want to remind everyone to please cover, when you're throwing out a mattress, that needs to be covered in plastic. And that's a health and safety thing for our employees. A lot of times we have employees that if they're doing their job correctly, you're not going to notice them. So it's just, we try, the service is you put your trash on the curb and it should be removed efficiently and cleanly. But it's the times when it doesn't, when they become noticed. We're just asking for a little help in that area. Be mindful of the number of items that are put out, and if it is a mattress, please have it wrapped up. With that all said, with my little preamble, I'll let Norberto give a little snapshot into what we've been doing the last couple of months.
Thanks, Austin. Yes, so as Councilor Williams had noted in the introduction, we've been working very hard at looking at traffic safety as a whole across the township, many of which include looking at high crash intersections, which most of the time may involve introduction of a new multi-way stop. So that's just one aspect, but we'll go into a little bit more what we're doing specifically in the 3rd Ward. So our first approach really at tackling this known issue of just traffic safety and speeding across the township was reducing the speed limit on all town roads to 25 miles per hour. That's across the board for all township-owned roads. We've also successfully gotten speed limits reduced on some county roads as well, Upper Mountain Avenue, Valley, as well as Grove. And we're continuing to work with the county to make sure that all roads within the township are 25 miles per hour. In addition to that, we've made changes to school zones throughout the township. All school zones have a designated 25 mile per hour speed limit, which again is just a reinforcement of the council's dedication to improve traffic safety where our residents are most vulnerable. But we know that lowering the speed limit alone isn't the only solution. We need to supplement that with additional structural improvements as well. So to supplement the speed limit changes, we've been approaching this in a variety of different ways. As mentioned, new 4-way stops have been going up at high crash intersections. We've also been paying particular attention to school zones as well, restriping them. If you've driven around the area recently by Hillside School, you'll notice the area looks different. There's an emphasis there on slowing down traffic and increasing pedestrian safety, in those areas, which isn't just on Hillside, but it extends, to the neighboring streets as well. Delineators, those are those plastic sticks that you've seen continually to be installed throughout the township. Those are really aimed at clearing out crosswalk clearances, so not only pedestrians can see vehicles, but vehicles can see the pedestrians before they're in the middle of the road because there's a car parked right next to it. So we want to clear out those areas, and the delineators are just one way to accomplish that goal. And lastly, speed humps. That's a more aggressive technique that we're looking to implement as well, where we see that speeding is an elevated level when these other measures really, may not be as effective as we'd like them to be.
How much does a speed hump cost? And the only reason I ask that is because a lot of constituents come up to me and they say, people speed on my block, put a speed hump.
Yeah.
So how much does that cost?
Yeah.
What's the downside to putting a speed hump in terms of like the sound and?
Yeah. So on average, we've seen pricing recently. Speed humps can range anywhere between $5,000 to $7,500 each. And generally speaking, if you're looking to address a speeding issue, you don't want to just put one speed hump because that doesn't really solve the issue. You go over it and then you go on your way. So you really want to look at putting at least 3. So that's really a $15,000 to $20,000 investment, at just one particular location. So that can be quite costly in that sense. But as Councilor noted as well, there are certain unintended impacts of that as well, or consequences. There does tend to be just an increase in just noise as cars go through. You hear the dunk as they go through. So we're sensitive to that as well, where there may be a dense residential area. May not necessarily want to be hearing that at all hours of the day, particularly at night. So we're very sensitive to where we put those, and it's something we consider. But it is one thing that we look at as far as curtailing the speeding issues. So we've just provided a brief summary of just new four-way stops that we've installed within the 3rd Ward alone. So over the last year, we've been really taking attention to 2 primary corridors, Harrison Avenue and Gates Avenue. So you'll see, I'm sure you've seen as well on your own travels, that new four-way stops have gone up at Harrison and Porter, Harrison and Gates, Harrison and Llewellyn, as well as Gates Avenue and Hawthorne, Gates and Clinton, and Gates and South Mountain Avenue. So just a quick snapshot of things that are been in the works and are continuing to be worked on. Again, this is just the 3rd Ward, and we've been doing the same.
I think Harrison and Porter are on the column. We approved it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And South Mountain Gates.
Correct. That is correct.
Also, going back to the just the safety striping, we're looking for input on that as well. How is that working in your community? How is that affecting your travel, and what you like and what you don't like? We work very closely with the Complete Streets Oversight Board. A new initiative headed up by Amy Veach was the I'm gonna get the name wrong. Yes, the Easy Ride surveys for the in and around the schools. That entails a group of volunteers, members of staff, council members, going out and physically walking those streets. It's a very different perspective when you're physically walking the street than driving down it. So we're out there generating the reports, getting the input from crossing guards, people passing by, and that's how we're getting the data for this. So this is very much a work in progress. We're looking for input.
So, as I mentioned, Harrison Avenue has been one particular focus of ours throughout this year. We know there's numerous issues that have existed there. So, along with the intersections we just mentioned, the next intersection we are really looking at is Harrison and Cedar. This is a problematic intersection. It's tricky at best. If you're on Cedar and you're trying to even make a right, it could be difficult, let alone a left. So ideally, we would love to put a 4-way stop here, or in this case, really a 3-way stop, but that kind of lends in to the problem. It's not your traditional intersection, your 4-way, because you have Harrison going north and south, then you have Cedar on the east, but then you have Sutherland, which is close, but not really there. So just putting up a stop sign there and leaving everything as is, it probably will create more problems than good. Because if you're traveling, and I'll have some pictures after this to demonstrate a little bit better, but if you're traveling eastbound and you're looking to make a turn onto Harrison, there's a wall here at the corner. And you can't see traffic coming. And if you can't see someone coming, they can't see you. So if a car is stopped here, there's no way for you to be able to know that you're waiting for each other. So we think that in order to make it work, additional changes will need to be made. And preliminarily, we're looking at this. One of the things we're looking at potentially doing is converting. Currently, Sutherland is a 2-way street, parking permitted on both sides, but it's very narrow. It's very narrow, and really just from a emergency access standpoint, which we've been communicating with the fire department, and they agree, it's just not conducive to safe condition as it currently is. So what we're proposing here is converting Sutherland to a one-way westbound only and eliminating parking on one side. That way you can still access it, but the main intention here is to simplify this intersection We want to try and minimize the amount of movement and conflicts that can be created there. And we feel that eliminating the eastbound traffic would go a long way to doing that. And while we're looking at this area, we also looked down the block and we noticed Graham Terrace as well, which the fire department has gone out there. Actually today, they confirmed for me that, again, with cars parked on both sides, it's just not wide enough. I believe they need at least 13 feet for a fire truck to be out there with outriggers, if in case there was an emergency. At best, it's 11 feet wide with parking on both sides. So it's something that we're cognizant of, but we also are sensitive to the fact that, you know, on-street parking is at a premium across the township. And, you know, our initial concept here was to convert Graham Terrace to one-way westbound. The thought here is, again, this would be a fairly simple loop to navigate, and Graham Terrace provides much better sight lines onto Harrison than Sutherland does. So, sure.
So I live on Graham Terrace, and it is already a shortcut for people. People speed down that, and I just want you to keep that in mind and how you would mitigate. Even if you make no changes, we need to mitigate that. But if it becomes one way and like everybody's using that loop, I'm concerned.
No, this is well noted. This is why, yeah, we're looking at, you know, all options. This is just one option that we're looking at, but your point is very well taken. So here's just what I was describing earlier. This is just a snapshot here of, you know, if you're at the stop on Sutherland trying to look onto Harrison North, you see a giant wall. You can't really see a car coming, and by the time you do, it might be too late. So that's why we're really seriously considering just making this a one-way, just eliminate that conflict. Yes.
Another question. I mean, is it possible to, as a taking, can you take that piece of property from the owner, you know, compensate them? And
Easier said than done.
it's something you consider. It's such a safety issue.
It's not something we really consider unless it's, you know, yeah. Yeah, but good thinking.
Something I've seen in other towns in this situation, they put a large mirror on the other side of the street. Very cheap solution.
True. But not everybody may look at it. You know what I mean? And again, but again, going back, the primary issue is if we want to improve safety on Harrison Avenue and Cedar, and just putting a stop on Cedar and leaving everything alone, you can't see and they can't see you. And if you're trying to make a left, it just it's not a natural flow like you would see, you know, North Fullerton and Claremont. Everybody sees each other, you know, my turn, your turn, and generally it works well. This is a very awkward configuration. We don't feel it would be appropriate. Not only the fact that it's too narrow. Sutherland is too narrow from just not even, I mean, fire access, emergency access is one thing, but even garbage pickup, just on a normal day-to-day, just cars flowing, it's an unsafe, we feel it's an unsafe condition, so. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. So I don't have the number offhand.
You're driving, you know, you're claiming that, I don't mean to antagonize you at all, but I happen to know the property owner, and we've both lived in town like 35 years. And I'm just curious how you arrive at the thing that your judgment is to change it, and if the number of accidents contribute to that thinking, right? One would think that if I'm going to spend money and do things, I'm going to analyze the situation, because living on Gates myself, the stop signs that you guys have put in have really helped the traffic. So in that situation, if you put a stop sign on the southbound Harrison, right before Cedar, that's going to slow all that traffic down and change it drastically from anybody coming out of Southern. Fire department access is a different issue, but you have that all over town.
I think that, yeah, that's 100% correct. These changes have an impact further down the line, and that is something that we look at. We look at the number of crashes in the intersection. Norberto doesn't want to give a number offhand and give you the wrong number. So he doesn't want to give out the wrong information. But that is something we look at. We do look at the speed data. We have new software that we use, which gives us I don't want to say instantaneous, but a very up to the current speed information for intersections. And all that information, along with community input, gives us the basis and the data for how we move forward. And that's why we do these incremental changes as well, to see how these changes affect the traffic patterns.
Just out of curiosity, do you monitor your changes after you've made them? Because, for instance, we have dog, we walk a dog, live on Gates, and now it seems like Llewellyn is the raceway. It used to be Gates was the raceway. Okay? Now it's Llewellyn. You just watch the cars go up and come.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's all part of the process. Similarly, like I mentioned earlier, well, Austin alluded to it as well, the changes we made to the school zones. We've yeah. So but like you said, there's impacts, good and bad, to every change. So it's something we definitely monitor and continue to adapt. We try and be as proactive as we can to try and get ahead of issues, but it's something we definitely consider and continue to look to improve upon. And yeah, that's one good example. And the traffic monitoring software goes a long way to helping kind of just stay on track on what's really going on in town with these changes. So yeah, so this is a quick snapshot here, and an aerial view here shows, again, just the kind of current configuration of Sutherland, and it tends to kind of meander a little bit, but at best it's about 24 feet wide. Some of it's even less, closer to 23 feet wide. And just for some comparison's sake, ideally you'd like at least 10-foot wide travel lanes, at least, bare minimum, and 7-foot wide parking lanes. So as right now, with parking on both sides and a two-way street, you're looking at, that 34 feet at best. We're 10 feet shy of that. So it's really undersized in that sense. And Graham Terrace here, again, this just shows the sight line here. It's much improved compared to Sutherland. And it is a little wider, right? But as you can see here, cars are parked on both sides. There's no way you're getting two cars through here. And usually there's potentially a break in the traffic where you can kind of pull over, but again, we're trying to be proactive in that sense and avoid a situation from occurring before it really becomes an issue. But again, we're continuing to take all this feedback that you may have and consider potential, what will be the potential best solution here. So that's what we're doing right now. But I want to talk a little bit about what's coming ahead, things we're planning for and looking forward to next year and beyond. So two primary projects. Again, these stop signs are really just on Harrison Ave, are really just the first step. But again, we know that there's it's going to be a multi-pronged approach, really, that we need to take in order to address the speeding issues on Harrison. So I'll go into a little more detail on what else we're looking to do there, but also the Church Street Streetscape project we're looking forward to as well. That's something that started about 5 years ago or so when we did phase 1 of those improvements. We're looking to really finish that out in the next, hopefully, next couple of years with. I got something
coming.
for you. It's coming. So, but
He has a slide for that.
before we get to that, again, just Harrison Ave. One thing we're looking to do is provide a dedicated, separated bike lane that goes from really the town border all the way to the traffic light at Union and Orange, and really that'd be the true first of its kind. We have one on Glen Ridge, but it's incomplete. This would be, we think, a much more functional use of a bike lane here with its length. And these are just some, again, these are all conceptual level configurations for what that would potentially look like. But in essence, we'd be eliminating parking on one side, likely the northbound side or east side of Harrison, however way you want to look at it, to allow for a new bike lane here, protected bike lane with a buffer. And then there would be a shared lane going southbound, which again, we're just looking to improve traffic conditions, slow down cars, be more pedestrian and bicyclist friendly. Again, just improve the safety of our township here. In addition to this, we'd like to consider additional intersections. Better? Okay, you got it. In addition to that, we'd like to continue to look to deploy more what we call curb extensions or daylighted intersections, and that's where the crosswalk is essentially reduced by use of what I mentioned earlier. These are due to the plastic delineators that allow clearances from cars to allow pedestrians to be, in the street less time and somewhat protected by them as well.
Just a point on the delineators. We've been testing different deployment methods. And what we've basically settled on is 2 affixed delineators, the furthest from the curb, and then a movable delineator closer to the curb. And that allows us to effectively still clean the streets. Because the problem is if you have the affixed delineators is the street sweeper can't get in close and remove that debris. So part of that experimentation was with the how to affix them and what is the best means of making sure that they're in the same spot. They get hit a lot and they're moved a lot. So we're trying to minimize that.
Yeah, and it's it's not a new technology overall, but it's fairly new to the township and how we're deploying it as aggressively as we are. So this will be really the first winter that we really have a large deployment of them out in the field. So it's a learning experience for us too, to see what works, what doesn't work. And again, any feedback you may have as the residents who see, what happens on a day-to-day basis, it's all appreciated as well.
I just want to mention there's another sort of benefit of these curb extensions. Anybody who drives on any of the big roads here in Montclair knows, when you're turning left, people decide, I'm just going to go around and to the right. Or if you stop for a pedestrian who's crossing, or a dog walker, or a kid on a bike to cross in front of you, and you're not turning left, somebody still will go to your right into that sort of lane that's not a lane, go around you, and then potentially get that. It happens all the time.
Yes.
But when there's a delineator there, there's no clearance for them to go through, or if there's a curb extension, that's, I think, a very valuable benefit, like making those intersections.
No, that's
100%.
excellent point and true on all fronts. And yeah, we're focusing on relatively quick and inexpensive ways to test these methods out. Eventually, down the lines, perhaps some of these get converted to full permanent curb extensions with curb and the such. But that's a more expensive endeavor. It may involve moving drains around, and again, may not always work at every location. So this is a good way to test out what works, what doesn't, and then see how we can further improve it as we move along. And lastly, as promised, so the Church Street Streetscape Improvement Project, right? So this is what we're looking at on a very conceptual level on what the streetscape could potentially look like. So as I'm sure you know, we've upgraded the intersection about 5 years ago with new traffic splitters, reduced the width of the road with new curbs, extending into the road, and a new roundabout. But it's fairly incomplete I'll be honest with you at the moment. And again, it's been an ongoing process to get funding. But we have submitted for a grant application to the state of New Jersey. I'm hoping to hear back from them this month. Really, for this project as well as the Harrison Avenue project I just discussed earlier, those will hopefully both be at least partially funded through the state of New Jersey grant programs, which will go a long way to making this a reality. So, in essence, we're looking to beautify these areas. It's kind of just bare grass here. We do our best to try and keep up with it, but in the center, but it's kind of become a bit of a mess with. I'm sorry. The fountain was eliminated because it was really not functioning at that point. Yeah. Yes. This is conceptual, I think, but I think from just discussions we've had, with folks in town, Councilor Williams, I think the preferred approach here, because the primary issue and one of the reasons why this has been delayed so long is the fountain itself. The new fountain was very, very costly, but it's also, just to install, not including the maintenance costs and upkeep that's required for it. So I think at this point, some kind of decorative sculpture there, some kind of decorative piece. It has to be something, but we're looking. Yeah. Yeah, we have, this is just shown as a very conceptual. All those details still to be figured out. Likely there'll be some kind of committee and competition maybe put together for that artist to be chosen and selected, but that's all very preliminary. Right, so it was that, but it was also a fountain that water was going to shoot out of it. So, but it was very costly, and it just wasn't really feasible. And in the lakes, yeah. I believe so, yeah. As far as like in the road, yeah, but there's others in the parks.
Or totally effective. Every time I go in that circle, I used to live in DC, your own circle you have the right of way. That doesn't apply here. Nor is there a sign that says people on the circle have the right of way. It's worth your life to get away around that. You take it part of the convenience store. You shoot right through. And I drive that circle, meaning on my floor. Otherwise, I'm going to get. So if you can improve something in that circle, yeah, so that people don't race around and think that they all have the right.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, we'll definitely look into.
So currently, the gardening club has taken over the maintenance for that. It's a vast improvement. We are having an issue with the I don't have the pointer. Yeah. However you do it. With the thing here. Yeah, that area in particular is, for whatever reason, is just everyone loves to run over that area and turn it into a mud pile. Yes. It's tight. Yeah.
It's yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been talking about that at the bid, and if there's a way to raise the curb, or put a curb there, on the perimeter, that could help protect whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was designed intentionally to be driven over. It's a mountable curb, but again, the final intention was for it not to be dirt and plantings, but concrete, a hard surface, so that buses, if they needed to, can mount over it a little bit. I will say I've seen it evolve over the years, and when it was first built, it was not as bad as it was now. I think just over time, there's nothing there. Cars don't necessarily respect it, or the trucks, they just kind of plow through and do what they got to do. Because I do know that it was doable, and cars would maybe the larger trucks would go over a little bit on the edge. But I think now it's just come to a point where they just go through it, and I think this will go a long way to reestablishing that proper function. Yeah, in all likelihood, it's probably about 1 to 2 years out, probably on the later side of that, just to actually get into construction. I mean, we'll be working on it over the next year, but it's a process. Funding needs to be put in place, approved by the state. The township needs to budget for it in its annual budget. Designs need to be, completed, approved by the state. So there's a timeline on that for sure. But I'll say we're much closer than we ever have been to making this a reality. But just a couple points on, aside from the interior, we're showing some brickwork around the edging here as well. But our intention at this point is to make it functional as far as like a stormwater management perspective and make them permeable pavers, not just rough hardscape. There's a pretty large culvert system that runs through this area down to Bloomfield Avenue. So we feel that any amount of runoff that we can capture. Speaking earlier to Dr. Johnson's point, with trees, and any bit of runoff that we can take off the street and hold back is a benefit. And just one step closer towards mitigating flooding that we're experiencing. So yes.
Tied together, kind of. So I was hopeful that you were going to talk about Church Street, where all the stores are, and in the past there's been conversations, discussions, efforts in pedestrianising that area of Church Street and South Park, which would be so much more user-friendly. And I know that there are ways of doing it so that they can be open for businesses to receive their goods, etc., when they need to. That didn't come up. So anyway, I wanted to ask if that conversation is still going on and if it could actually turn into a reality. And then the second part of it, because this is all about the town being more user-friendly for cyclists, pedestrians, as well as the cars, is the rise in the number of motorised scooters and bikes who operate their own little universal rules, causing danger, and there doesn't seem. So I was going to ask about the cooperation between the town and maybe the police about explaining what the rules are and then enforcing them through education and maybe something else as well. But that's becoming a real hazard as well.
Because we were on the sidewalk.
Yes. Another add that Roosevelt was to become a great source for motorcycles. We have some of our own buildings. We don't adhere to any concern for the noise and the traffic that they raise. I have reported to the police several times. Somebody parked in a building across from our building, and it's a nightmare. They just race up the street. And if you're looking for places for stop signs, Seymour and Roosevelt and South Fullerton is another street that forget about the factory that the Plymouth parking lot, Plymouth Street, Roosevelt, and then they stop for nothing. It's worth your life to try to go to the library. And if any street needed more stop signs, it's South Fullerton. It's just become they race up off of Bloomfield Avenue, and they don't care who's in front of them. And literally, yell at people to slow down so I can cross the street.
That is very, very true, and it's a chronic issue in the town of a militant, aggressive driving through Montclair. I applaud your efforts with what you're trying to do, but I have a concern with stop signs coming on more and more corners. It can turn us into Queens, where you stop at every single corner if that's the direction we're heading. What I'm not hearing is up in the increasing level of enforcement. We have parking enforcement galore. You're 15 minutes over in any lot, and you've got a ticket waiting on your window. They seem to be very well funded. We're here for 24 years. We have a bird's eye view of Gates and South Mountain. Horns honking all day long because people slip through the stop signs that are there, and I see you're going to add 2 more. Great, let's see if that works. But there used to be for many years a patrolman on South Mountain. That person was busy all day long, and you knew, do not speed on South Mountain. Do not cross, don't pass people with a double yellow line. I drive 30 miles an hour. I'll admit to that in the hood, but I have passed, similar to honking your horn going through that circle. You have to drive defensively, protectively, to not be run off the road. So my suggestion is to evaluate greater enforcement of the speeders and the people that just have to get there. That circle, I pulled over the day that the gardening club was installing it, and I thanked each and every one of them. I thought, that's great what's going on there. But it wasn't too much after that I see tire tracks that ran through it. And I agree with this, but to me, that's the speeding and the aggressive driving in the town. So then a pile of stones arrived. I figured, well, maybe that was going to fill in what the mud or whatever was caused by the first infraction. That's been run over now too. And it's sitting there, I believe, still now. So my suggestion or request is please evaluate how to enforce the law and teach a culture in the town, a mutual respect.
All very good points, and I'm going to spend a couple of moments just addressing it. So everything you're saying is completely accurate. My bugaboo are folks that don't actually stop for stop signs, but they actually kind of slow down in the crosswalk and then just keep on going, right? That's my personal thing. So education is one of the things that I would like to focus on. I was speaking to one of the county commissioners about, and the problem isn't just in Montclair. You know, we live in Montclair, so we're experiencing the driving in Montclair. It's in the surrounding areas as well, and maybe perhaps all over New Jersey, right? So speaking to the county about having a county-wide campaign coupled with enforcement, right, on potentially some sort of periodic basis where saying, hey, we are going to be focusing on stop sign compliance and things of that nature on this day, and just kind of over time is going to get into people's minds that, hey, let's really stop for these stop signs instead of the rolling stop. And just another brief second about the scooters and the motorized bike. I'm a scooter owner, and I do have concerns with, I see a lot of teenagers on these motorized bikes. They look a lot of fun and everything like that. I do have concerns with it as well. I do believe that there has been some, and Matt, you can keep me honest on this, Matt Amaral. You can keep me honest on this, that the town did post some items about, and I believe the police department did also, about the rules for the motorized scooters and the bikes and things of that nature. I think probably we maybe need to refresh that effort a little bit, and maybe, I don't know, maybe we have a town hall just on that. So, and it's mostly, and I don't want to single them out, it's mostly like teenagers with these motorized bikes and stuff like that. So if parents come out, they can kind of hear, a little bit more about the laws and things of that nature. So just want to address that. So when I get back here, and we still have time for some questions afterwards, but I'm letting Norberto finish up.
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah, yes, that's again accurate as well. I know that's something the police department is viciously trying to fight, but it's.
We really need to find hurtful, and that will teach them not to comply. I mean, you can get a $70 parking ticket. Somebody double parks on Bloomfield Avenue. You should get a $200 parking ticket, and they won't do it again. We have so many people coming in to our town now, we wonder about traffic and people delivering food and the noise in the neighborhood. If the police are out there ticketing people and saying, you broke the law, it's a noise evade. You have the same thing with the robot. Our neighborhood is, and we talked about this before, the noise in our neighborhood and the trash. I went and did a survey. We have 3 trash cans on the robot, our neighborhood, which is littered with these little mini and trash at full We have no trash receptacles, none.
We can do something about not the lack of trash receptacles. We can do some, well. You're speaking to the person that can remedy that situation. But just one last second. Let's just finish with this presentation, and then we're gonna go.
Control the Plymouth parking lot,
That's for the parking utility.
because our new fence, which cost us over $60,000 around our property, has been violated twice with cars running through it. And I sent you a letter asking, which I never got a reply to, by the way, about having security barriers put in front of that to protect our property.
This is the email. Well, your email was it? The email went to the town manager, who is. I know, but so let me. Your email went to the town manager, who is looking to put it into the budget for next year. So these are the folks that deal with those sorts of infrastructure things. So that is on the agenda. But we did get it in. It's unfortunate, but it is going to be dealt with.
That you can't find 2 Jersey barriers to put there.
Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to continue with the presentation, and then we can continue with questions and answers. And if we don't have enough time, I'll speak to you afterwards. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, that really kind of really ends my prepared remarks. I mean, I will just say one other thing, because about the speeding and police presence, I do know we mentioned the traffic monitoring software is not just for us. I know the police are using it as well, and that's one tool that they're using to really have more targeted approach to see where the speeding is occurring in real time and attack it that way. So it's something that they are looking at addressing as well.
So just one thing, because I see some familiar faces, I see some folks from Union Gardens, and I think the last time I had a town hall meeting, they mentioned that by Lackawanna Plaza on Greenwood Avenue, there is that little parking lot right there, and you can kind of go to Greenwood Avenue right there. It's what is that? That's Glen Ridge, and
yes.
So they're saying that a lot of traffic is going through the one way. Maybe the additional signage needs to be put there or something like that. So that came up during the last meeting. And then I think also kind of in that area, also on Claremont and North Willow. So anybody that lives in that area, there's going to be a stop sign, which we're going to look to approve that, I guess, for first reading relatively soon.
First reading.
So, folks have been asking about that stop sign, additional stop signs on Claremont Avenue, which I think.
That's the last one, really.
Right, because we put that one on Claremont and Greenwood. So just to block over, we just need to put some stop signs there as well. So that's coming.
She had a question about pedestrianizing Church Street that I don't think got answered.
Yeah, that's something that I would very much like to do, to be completely honest with you. However, and I'm going to let Matt Silverman from the board kind of speak about this also. And this is something that we have to speak to the bid, speak to the bid about as well, because people have some concerns, and I've been speaking to some of the business owners in the area, and they're concerned about getting, deliveries, and, they're also concerned about cars not being able to come through the intersection and see their businesses and things of that nature. There's a bunch of other concerns. Some of the ideas that have been thrown out is maybe temporarily closing it down, like on the weekends between certain hours, and that way you can kind of get that pedestrian plaza that way, and maybe during the warmer months and things of that nature. But Matt, you wanted to say something?
And we talked about this for a long time, and it's something that we'd like to see happen. Step one that we're thinking about is doing a survey of all the businesses to get their thoughts on a limited closure for vehicles and what works, what doesn't, what times.
Could you use the mic, please?
How's that? Is that better? So, any case, we're going to do a survey, and we're going to see what the businesses say. If we can get it a majority of folks that work on and own businesses on that block, we're going to try to work with the town to see if we can do a pilot project, similar along the lines of what Councilman. I don't know anything about that, but that's what we're looking at right now. Okay. We're working out some administrative issues in the bid. I'm on the board, so we have a staff, a group of folks there that will be as soon as possible. Yesterday. In my opinion, yesterday.
I'm listening to all of the improvements at Church Street.
Just close to Gino.
My concern is the Church Street entrance at Bloomfield Avenue. I had always been hit by a car 3 times. Why can something be done about that no left turn? They turn from Fullerton all the way around in Church. These are not visitors. These are people that know the street. And they make the left turn off of Bloomfield Avenue. There's never a cop there. And it's a dangerous intersection. And they turn fast because they don't want to be caught. So anybody that is crossing the street there, because we did a traffic study, the lights don't work well. The wisest thing is you have to go to the middle of Church Street to cross the street if you want to be safer. But something should be done even if you have to take out part of that sidewalk. That's a dangerous point.
Yeah, I agree, and I wanted to speak to you about that. I don't think that there's a sign right there. If you could technically right now, because there's no sign, make a left-hand turn from South Fullerton onto Bloomfield and then go on to Church, which shouldn't be the case.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, we'll talk to the county about that to see what we can do.
Good evening. Besides the Lackawanna, the one-way entrance, I had mentioned this before. I live on Union Gardens, and we have a few children in the building who are autistic. So people drive down Greenwood. I'm not sure too much from once they cross over Claremont until they get to Walnut, but from Glen Ridge to Claremont, they drive down like they're on Indy 500. And I understand about the speed bumps being expensive. I know some streets it's like a flatter thing, but you do still have to slow down on it. It's not you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not the hump one. The ripple one, maybe. Yeah, maybe something like that, but especially in the summertime. It's crazy, and you can hear it, vroom, and somebody is going to I'm surprised no one hasn't gotten hit. But like I said, in my building, there are a couple of children who are autistic, and that's another thing, there's no autistic signs out there either,
Okay.
So
that was at Greenwood, right? Green.
Yeah, Greenwood.
Yeah. Okay. Could look into that.
So one of the things, and we don't have, and I'm kind of freestyling right here. So one of the things besides Church Street, making it a pedestrian street at least sometime, one of the things I want to do is improve that turn from the Crescent Deck going to Bloomfield Avenue. So when you come out on North Fullerton on the Crescent Deck, and folks make a left-hand turn, and they cross the double yellow line, and because they want to get to Bloomfield Avenue. So that's one of the things that I would like to correct, and I'm going to work with them on seeing what is there. But this is part of one of the things I want to do with community engagement, because there's a lot of folks that live in the area that will require some changes to South Park Street, potentially making that a two-way street and eliminate parking on one side of the street so that folks can go along Park Street to Bloomfield Avenue, but we're going to have some community engagement. And just going back to Sutherland and Graham, because, some of the folks are here and they came out for that, is this is not an imminent thing right here. So, I just want to put your mind at ease. This is something that there's some sort of remediation that does need to happen here, but the proposal right here is a proposal. I think it's a good proposal, but we do need folks to give feedback on this. So potentially, and I haven't run this by them yet, but potentially what we'll do is maybe we'll have an on-site meeting, for the folks that live in the area so they can we can kind of talk about it together and, you get folks comfortable with the idea if we actually move forward with this, but some sort of remediation does need to be made. And let me.
I just have a question because I do live also on Greenwood. I live at 50 Greenwood. And because we live close to Bloomfield Ave, close to all the parking decks that no one wants to use, all of our residential parking gets taken up every time there's anything that requires more than two people to be on Bloomfield Ave. Yeah. So if I have friends coming over, I have family coming over, they can't park in front of my house because everyone else that wants to go to Bloomfield Ave and not use the parking decks want to park there, which, I understand we still are probably one of the few streets in town that has free residential parking, but I don't really think that's fair for my neighbors and myself if we have our, friends and family coming over and they can't park on our street because someone else who lives on the other side of town didn't want to use the parking decks that were put into town. And I know that's a big complaint of these parking decks, but it's not really fair to the people that live in that area that we have to suffer because someone doesn't want to use the parking deck that's $5 maybe for the whole day or more. I'm not sure if that's anything you guys can work on or, have a committee for that, but that's also a complaint that we have a lot. Loved the Jazz Fest, didn't love the traffic.
So it's funny you mention that because that is one of the things, well, not particularly that area, more for Forest and North Willow because folks they want to go to that restaurant right there, but they don't want to pay for the parking deck that's right across the street.
I'm not sure what bar that was.
The Crosby?
Yeah, the Crosby. We had that same issue. They would go to the Crosby, park on our street, but then after the Crosby, you're having a good time. We hear all the noise, we heard all of the commotion, so that was
Yeah, we're working on quite a few things, and it's that situation is in a couple of different committees, and I think we're coming to some sort of solution relatively soon. And actually, Matt, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'll meet with you this weekend because I want to pick your brain on a couple of things. But yeah, we're aware of that, and we're slowly but surely making our way down there. So.
Just a general comment. I think the idea, there's a regulatory piece of this issue when it comes to speeding, when it comes to traffic calming, when it comes to parking, double parking, et cetera. Are the signs proper? Do we have the right regulatory mechanisms in place? That's half the solution. The other half is enforcement. Everyone knows that. And if they're not working together in sync, in a synchronized way, and that there's not enough enforcement resources available, the signs and all of the regulatory mechanisms don't really matter because people blow through stop signs. People double park even though it's illegal. People, take a left onto Church Street from Bloomfield Avenue even though it's illegal. So you can't have a cop at every location 24/7. You just can't. So the question is resources. The question is, do we have a planned approach to enforcement? Do we have enough traffic monitoring, whether it's real people doing it or technology? So there's lots of opportunities to look at that kind of stuff, and I know the town is.
So if I could just jump in 1 second before you get to your point. One thing that I don't think was mentioned, and I know it's not really our department, but we're aware of it. The parking utility is in the process of deploying what's called safety sticks, and it's essentially, they look similar to like the delineators we showed earlier, but there's a camera mounted into them which continuously monitor illegal parking, and will snap a shot of the license plate and mail a ticket to the person automatically without an officer being there. So again, it's something we are aware of, and it's being worked on actively. So. It hasn't been implemented yet, but it would work just like any other ticket you get written by an actual officer.
They park illegally and the fine will be $200. To alert people to the fact that if they do something illegal, that there's a fine attached to it. I think when you show them what the liability is, they will not, break the law. But if you don't give them a carrot and a stick, there's no incentive for them to do what they're supposed to do. When anyone comes to my building, I say, here's the map of my neighborhood, here's my building, here are 2 parking decks, 1 block from where I live. You don't want a $70 ticket. Please park here. Otherwise, park here.
So I have a couple of thoughts. Maybe incentivizing people to park in the decks rather than always talking about enforcement. So I don't know if it's possible for businesses to be able to validate parking in the decks, and then somebody at the Cosby, or no longer the Cosby, I forget what version it is this week. Thank you, couldn't remember the name. They get their parking for free if they're having a meal or whatever. So incentivizing people. And then the second piece of that is about education. It's great to have a town hall. It's great to have emails. It's great to have stuff on the website, but 90% of the people aren't going to those places. Look at the turnout here as an example. But we have those signs on the street, like there's one by the police station about using your safety belt or not talking on the phone and so on. And I'm wondering if we could maybe have some of those as like some education program aimed at the kids on the bikes and on the scooters. So the education is where they are. We're going to them rather than expecting them to come to us.
That's actually not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Shoot. Well, so it's probably nothing is going to get built there for a while, just because. Well, yeah. Well, I'm telling you the obvious, right? Because it's been 10 years, right, since Pathmark closed down. There's litigation and things of that nature that has to be settled first before anything can move forward, and the town doesn't have any control over that. That's.
The last plan that I saw at the planning meeting was actually a decent plan, and yet it was turned down again. And I don't know how many crows are picking at the carcass, but sooner or later, you got to make a decision. It's ridiculous. It's a tax base that we're missing. It's housing we're missing. It's a supermarket. It's opposite.
Well, you're preaching to the. All right. So does everybody know who this is? No. This is Mr. Bill Harrison, our newest member of the council, who I was going to invite him up to talk about something, but he beat me to the punch. So go ahead.
Okay. The Lackawanna Plaza plan was approved by the planning board. The plan was adopted by the council. The plan was approved by the planning board. 2 parties have appealed that, and it's in court. There's a briefing schedule that's been set. It's scheduled to be heard by the court in February. So the developer is not going to do anything while that lawsuit is pending. In the meantime, the township is actively negotiating a redevelopment agreement and a financial agreement with the developer, so that will be in place at the point the litigation is resolved. Obviously, if the litigation is resolved against the developer, we're back to square one, but the township is trying to move forward by working on the agreements with the redeveloper, but it's the litigation that's slowing things down, and that. They're challenging various aspects of the planning board approval, and no, not that I'm aware of. I mean, that's not the main issue.
All the previous plans before the recent one was approved, because the historic preservation got involved, and now it's been approved, but how can one litigant stop all of that development?
In my other life, I do that on both sides, and no developer will proceed with a project when someone challenges it, and it's both a group of people and an adjacent property owner who is also a developer. So,
Right. So now, since you have the microphone, why don't you talk about that other thing? The other thing with the feedback for the builders.
So, Steve?
I hope you guys attend this in a different time to the corner associated with Walnuts, Western Square,
okay. So the municipality has some old buildings that are we keep having to do costly repairs to. The municipal building, just to give you immediate examples, the roof was leaking, the water went into the elevator broke down, the elevators are very old, it took several months to order new parts. Finally, last week, the elevators were running again, and last week it rained hard, and within days, leaked into the elevator, the part broken again, have to order parts, to take months. It's, besides, ADA issues, because employees have to work on the upper floors. Normally, members of the public would go to those floors. This is a cost, and that's one of the lesser costs, but it's typical. Your roof leaks, all kinds of bad things happen, and it costs money to repair the roof. Police station, the former municipal building, is much older, has even bigger issues. There's going to be an item on next week's agenda to address one of those issues, but these prior councils have kicked the can down the road and stuck their fingers in the dikes, but it's becoming costly. And what we're seeking now is to get input from the public as, what should we do? One option is do nothing and keep paying for the repairs as they come up. Another option is, where else can we put a municipal building? Where can we put the police headquarters? Should they be in the same location? Should we use existing facilities to do that? Should we build a new building? I think most people think that's too expensive, but but we want your input. We don't want to go off and do this, and the first thing you know, council decided, hi, we're putting a municipal building here. We want to get your ideas as to what we should do, including do nothing and keep making repairs, which, we're getting the figures over the past 10 years, how much money has been spent on repairing the police headquarters and the municipal building. But a decision needs to be made, and we want your input before we make a decision. Okay. That's what we're looking for, is your ideas, is to...
It's funny that you said that because, well, no, there's a deck right behind it. There's a deck the North Fullerton deck is right behind the Chase building. Yeah, that's the definition. Right.
The property has been sold and someone is in the process of redeveloping the property. On the corner of Bloomfield and North Fullerton, yes.
So is that going to be offices or retail or?
Retail. I don't know if that's the whole premise.
Impact on a new structure on our real estate taxes?
Okay.
Is that going to be added onto our current burden, or are you going to take out a bond issue?
Well,
It would definitely be a bond issue, so.
yeah, we don't have enough cash on hand to do that, so it would be a bond, but we haven't even gotten there yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we want your input to, you know, and there are options where.
What property would you confiscate by eminent domain?
Okay, we
While you operated out of the old building?
Well, there's a lot of different options.
There are options that do not involve eminent domain. You know, I don't want to, I'm not trying to prejudge it. I mean, we want your input without our saying, you know, what about this, what about that? But there are, to give you an example, and this is not an advocacy, and Immaculate Conception High School closed down. There's a big building there, basically across the street from the current municipal building. You know, it's things, you know, I'm just pointing that as an example that would not involve, condemnation. If the police department moves, that property could be sold to pay for some of the cost. It's that kind of thing. If the municipal if we give up the current municipal building, that property could be sold. You know, so it's not necessarily purely a cost issue. Some of the options would involve revenue coming to the town from the existing properties.
Have you thought about building part of the new building on the parking lot next door, move into that, and then tear down the old building and rebuild?
Well,
Okay.
so this is exactly what Councilor Harrison is looking for, this sort of feedback. And in the back of the room, Matt Amaral just put down some flyers there with some information about how you can provide your feedback to the committee that Councilor Harrison is sitting on. So before, we still have a few more minutes. So yes?
I would just love to suggest some really great, you were around to weigh in, but if you could provide a forum, an expert, like a panel, like architects and financiers, and so people can ask questions and they can be answered immediately, and you know what I mean, just because each of us kind of having our ideas, we have no idea how they're gonna hit. It would be great if.
I think what they're looking for right now, and I don't want to put words in your committee's mouth, is that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a brainstorm right now, right? And they're going to sit down and they're going to look at some of the best ideas here, and then maybe we're going to have a discussion in public, and then, you know, kind of.
There will be specific events focused solely on this, but, you know, since Rahum was having the community meeting tonight, this was an opportunity to start getting the idea out there, and we're going to keep doing that and have bigger groups. And, you know, as the ideas, you know, we're probably going to start off with people suggesting 10, 15 ideas, and then we're going to say, you know, do some preliminary analysis and say, this is way too costly, there's no way that works, or there isn't enough room on that property to do what we need to do, you know, but get it down to a handful of choices, and, you know, then refine the costs a little better, get public input. But, you know, parking is going to be one of the issues as to how we address that with virtually any site. Some probably have better options than others, but
Parking built underground, why does it have to be above ground like all of our parking decks? I mean, if we're going to use the real estate intelligently, go underneath and then put your parking below.
I'm going to agree and disagree with you. There are some places in town where underground parking is perfectly appropriate. There are other places in town, Lackawanna Plaza is the easiest example, where there are streams Tony's Brook and I think it's called Crescent Brook run down and merge there. And you couldn't build underground parking because they'd be flooded all the time. But that certainly is a consideration.
Yeah, that's not something that's going to be that's being contemplated.
Okay. Okay. If you're developer's not selling today. If he loses a lawsuit, it might be a different world, but we can't, you know.
So, take another question.
First of all, yes, at a town council meeting a little while ago, I was at this, and I heard Portland one very well. That public PSD has been an open they have the value of the street to keep those and the street
Okay. Let's do, that's not unrelated to what do we do about the police station, but, okay. Public service, the existing substation on the other side of Valley Road from Portland Place where you come out, has to be replaced. It is 100 years old and the world has changed since it was built dramatically. Not electric substations. So they're being required by the Board of Public Utilities to replace that. They need a location. One of the locations is the land behind the police station. What I have advocated for us to not blame other council members is there was a redevelopment plan that was drafted but never adopted that covered part of that area. I think what needs to happen is that redevelopment area expanded to do both sides of Valley Road, go down Portland Place to deal with the office property, the police station property, the warehouse building property. Well, except for the public, the township property and across the street, the gas station at the corner. But I'm just putting it, but to develop a redevelopment plan which the public would be part of and getting the input. I mean, I don't know if you were one of them, but the gas station came in for the convenience store before the Board of Adjustment, which we denied, but all the neighbors on Portland Place came out and said this would be a horrible idea. But that's where we need your input as to what you want to see, where you're now looking at giant parking areas. But I also suspect you don't want a 6-story building across the street from you. But I suspect you don't want another one that would be directly across the street. Public Service is going to build a new substation somewhere in the immediate area of where the existing was, because that's where all the wiring is set up. So they can't move it 2 miles away, and that's vital for having enough electricity for the town. So but we want the public to be part of the planning process for that area, so you're going to like what it ends up looking like.
So just to emphasize again, the flyers on the back. There's flyers related to some of the different presentations that went on tonight, and also in relations to what Councilman Harrison has been talking about. And just last but not least, thanks to everybody for coming out. Take plenty of cookies and candy, please. I don't want to have to take it home. It is my Halloween candy for my kids because I didn't want them to eat it. So thank you, please. I did.